What's up, y'all? Kelly Clarkson with Wayfair. My favorite thing about the holidays? Decking out my whole house. It's not a competition, but if it was, well, I'd win the season with Wayfair. Outdoor inflatable Santa? Got it on Wayfair. Trees, lights, and ornaments? Wayfair. Hosting must-haves like dining sets, beds, sheets, and towels? Wayfair. For everything in your style delivered with fast and free shipping, visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app to win the season. But again, it's not a competition.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
League One Volleyball is back. The world's best players together on American soil. This is volleyball like you've never seen before. Huge swings, massive blocks, jaw-dropping digs. A sport where every play is a highlight. League One Volleyball returns January 7th, 2026, with teams in Atlanta, Austin, Houston, Madison, Nebraska, and Salt Lake. To buy tickets, visit lovb.com/iHeart.
We come to this feed for magic. We come to the Real Lovers podcast to laugh, to cry, to converse. Because we need that. All of us. That indescribable feeling we get when the music begins to fade. And we go somewhere we've never been before. Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this. Our hosts feel like the best of all of us. And discussions feel perfect and powerful. Because here, they are the Real Lovers Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Real Lovers Podcast, the only podcast here on the internet that is covering all the movies in the Letterboxd Top 250. And yes, I know it is December 16th, 2025, and we've only covered, I think 3 movies so far from the 250. We've been spending most of our time with the M. Night Shyamalan retrospective series, but when this movie came up, I knew we had to get this out before Christmas because we're covering It's a Wonderful Life. My name is Marley Silverbrand, and joining me today is a good friend and a fellow movie lover. He's also the host of the First Watch podcast, Drake. Welcome to the Real Lovers Podcast, Drake. How you doing?
Thank you, sir. Good. How are you?
Doing great. I'm very excited to talk about this movie, It's a Wonderful Life, from 1946, directed by Frank Capra. It is the 51st movie on the Letterboxd Top 250. But before we get into that, we have some segments to go through. We don't normally talk about news on the Real Lovers Podcast, but since we last done a main episode, so much has happened in the world. We're not going to talk about everything, but I feel like most recently, it's probably important to talk about the stuff that came out about Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner.
Yeah.
I think everyone probably knows what we're talking about, but Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner, they passed away. They were murdered by their son, Nick, which is absolutely heartbreaking. But Drake, what do you think about all this?
It's kind of hard to wrap my head around.
Mm-hmm.
It's been hard to wrap my head around for the past, today is Tuesday. It happened on Sunday night, very late Sunday night. Most of us really didn't find out. I didn't find out, at least on my side of the coast, until probably 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, maybe even a little bit later.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, what? At first it was, okay, the fire department found 2 bodies in the home and of the particular ages, of their ages. And I was like, okay, this is possibly them, to then finding out that it was them, to then finding out that their son was the reason, and all finding out within a 12-hour period of just back to back to back, just bad news. Finding out how they died, I'm not going to get into that. It is gruesome. I'm just not going to.
Yeah.
It's not fair to them, not to mention the way that the man who's supposed to be leading 340 million people decided to go about discussing their deaths, which is extremely not only unprofessional, but inhumane in more ways than I can even talk about right now. It's all been a whirlwind these past 2 days. I'm a fan of Rob Reiner's stuff. I just recently saw him in The Bear in season 4 of The Bear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, we haven't seen him or any of his work in that sort of capacity. This is Spinal Tap 2 just came out,
Yeah.
a couple months ago. And from what I understand, he was actually working on a This is Spinal Tap concert movie, and now he can't do that. So it's just one of those things that is really fucking sad to see, and it sucks.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. Like I've obviously I've seen a lot of like Rob Reiner's films, much like you have, Drake. But there's a lot of stuff like on his filmography that are like they're still on my watch list, unfortunately. Like Princess Bride, but I love This Is Spinal Tap. Like that's like a foundational comedy movie for me. Like I love like his connection to Best in Show as well, and just I think what I kind of got from like Rob Reiner is that he was just kind of like a guy that was just wanting to make anything that he wanted to make. He didn't want to like put himself in boxes and like say like, oh, I'm only gonna do like romantic comedies like When Harry Met Sally, or
Yeah.
I'm only gonna do like coming of age movies like Stand by Me. But he's just all across the board, and I think if he would have died of natural causes, I would still be sad. But it's kind of one of those things I would have gotten over with. But but the fact that what he went out the way he did, it's like it's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking.
This is gonna be one of those that it's gonna take some time.
Yeah.
Also to hear that Billy Crystal and Larry David were at the house a couple, not even 30 minutes to an hour after it happened. I saw footage of their Rob Reiner's assistant show up at the house and be like, what do you need me to do? Like, I need to get in contact with the family because, like, I worked very closely with him. I was with him all the time. Is there anything you guys need me to do? Like, I do need to talk to them, but if I can help, I will, which I thought was really cool because he didn't have to do that. Now, granted, I can understand why he'd want to. Based on all the stories and stuff I've heard about Rob Reiner, I've only heard good things.
Yeah.
I've literally only heard good things. I was looking at a Facebook group that I'm in called Cruise Stories, and that's people were talking about the times that they worked with him or even ran into him just by happenstance, and they had nothing but good things to say. And so it just makes things like this much harder to kind of get your head around. I mean, it's already going to be hard to begin with, especially with the manner in which it was done and who did it and all that. Like I said, I'm not going to get into that, but that's already bad enough. And then to realize that he was a good dude, he was a good person, it makes it even harder.
Yeah. And the fact that it was a family member too, that makes it makes it even like worse.
That makes it so much worse.
Yeah. Prayers out to like all of their loved ones that were close to them, and to not end like on a completely somber note. Like, do you have like any favorites of Rob Reiner that I didn't shout out like already?
I mean, yeah, like I was saying, I watched Princess Bride earlier today. That was the one that I knew I had to throw it on. On a week like this when all this stuff is going on, in order to kind of truly kind of like honor his work and also kind of get through it, I think Princess Bride is a good one to watch. It's a good one for you to sit there and watch and actually feel like you're escaping for a minute.
Yeah.
And it's great.
That's like before I hit record, I actually said that I haven't seen Princess Bride, and it's definitely like on my bucket list I have to see before.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, we'll probably run it or something. I mean, we kind of talked about that already, so if you want to, we can do it. I'm down to do it.
Yeah, for sure, on the First Watch podcast.
Yeah.
But because it's definitely like a really bad like dark spot on my watch list for sure, just because I should have seen it like already, because it plays all the time on TV. I'm surprised I haven't seen it, but
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I love When Harry Met Sally, because I feel like that was like a foundational rom-com for me, and like it kind of like really got me into like romantic comedies at that time. And to hear kind of like the stories of how he ended that movie, like he went to his wife Michelle
Yep.
Reiner to I and this is something that I've been saying. I haven't been saying it completely on social media, but I've been coming to terms with it. There's always, whenever there's a straight white male filmmaker, like there's always someone by their side, whether male or female or non-binary, that is equally better than them. And
Yeah.
it's like James Cameron, like he had like his partners like back in the day. You had Catherine Bigelow, and then who was his first wife? I forget. She worked on
Honestly, I don't
Galen
remember.
Hurd.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's just like there's always a woman there to kind of like uplift them and show them the empathy in the world. And I feel like that's what Michelle Reiner brought to When Harry Met Sally. But like I said, to end on not a somber note, what I should tell the listeners is just watch a Rob Reiner film. Like with this news, just because he really was an important individual and a huge loss to this industry that is forever changing. So
Yeah. It's a sad one.
yeah, for sure. But speaking of an industry forever changing, what a segue.
Yeah.
Netflix is apparently buying Warner Brothers, or Paramount is blocking that, or I haven't really been keeping up with it, but really Netflix came out and said that they're purchasing Warner Brothers for like $82 billion.
Yeah, something like that. That's around the 80s.
So we're not going to talk about Paramount all that much, because I feel like Paramount, I don't know. I'll ask you this question. Paramount's also kind of like in the ring now. Of like,
They've got a hostile bid, yeah.
Yeah, they put a hostile bid. I'm going to ask you, because there's a lot of like opinions out there going out right now about who's better for the industry, Netflix or Paramount. Because Paramount, you have the Ellison brothers or the Ellison family that's probably going to magify it or whatever. Or I feel like that's a little bit of fear mongering, a little bit, just because I'll get into my points a little bit and why my point is probably a little bit controversial, but I'll let you go. Like, who do you think will be better for Warner Brothers in this situation? I think people are forgetting Warner Brothers is kind of a bad company.
I don't trust either one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm going to be honest with you, I don't trust either one. Netflix is already bad enough because you got Ted Sarandos, who has been, for that week of them kind of discussing the fact that they're looking to purchase Warner Brothers, saying that he thinks that the theatrical model is a dying model. He thinks that, movies shouldn't be in theaters for longer than 30 days. He thinks that people would rather be at home watching movies instead of going to the theater. And I've said this to a couple of people already. I don't know if I've said this to you, but it's an asinine kind of thing to say when you are someone that actually has influence when it comes to changing that to the theatrical extent, because I know why he wants people to stay streaming, because that's where they make their money, obviously. But he has the means and the motives and the opportunities to be able to kind of influence theaters in a way to change prices. They could all get together and talk to Regal, talk to AMC, talk to some of the smaller ones like B&B, talk to, Alamo Drafthouse, and figure out a way to open up, like subscription models for the theaters to then have people go to the movies more. Like, I have Regal Unlimited, right? For those who don't know, for Regal Unlimited, you can use it every 90 minutes. You can go see a new movie. For every Friday, I go do a double feature. Usually it's 2 regular movies, throughout the day at my theater. It's connected to a mall, so I have all day. I can walk around the mall while I'm waiting in between my movies. And for 2 movies, a large popcorn, thing of Twizzlers, and a water throughout both movies all day, $21 in total.
It's a good bargain. Yeah,
that's a hell of a deal for 2 movies and all of those snacks.
Yeah,
like, now granted, I had to pay $50 at the beginning of the year to get the deals on the snacks. Okay, that's a one-time payment. I'm gonna get that back. With how often I go, I'm gonna get that back in fucking 4 visits. Not a big deal. But if they had a family version of that, then people would probably go to the movies more. Ted Sarandos has the ability to go to some of these places, go to some of these companies and go, hey, let's figure this out. Because not only is it going to be good for the theaters, it's going to be good for them too. Because they'd make that box office money.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand why he doesn't have this mentality of like, hey, now that we have the ability to, now that we've got one of the bigger producers in Warner Brothers, have this opportunity to talk to these other, theater chains and be like, yo, let's figure this out. Even the smaller ones, even the rural ones, you can bring to some sort of subscription model, work something out so that people are more willing to go because they can actually afford to go.
Yeah.
Or it'll end up bringing down prices because they're going to discuss how much they're going to, charge for distribution and stuff like that. I don't know. Like, he has a way of figuring it out, but it just seems like he doesn't want to.
Yeah, I think
that's my biggest problem.
I think that's probably my biggest problem as well. But I also think Ted Sarandos is like he's an awful person, awful businessman, and I feel like at times he doesn't necessarily know what he's doing. But I think like some of the things that he's saying a little bit about about the theatrical going movie going experience. Like, it's weird that he's walking stuff back, and then he's saying no, we're going to have movies in theaters and stuff like that. But we're just thinking about restricting the theatrical window or limiting the theatrical window.
And then not only that, one of the biggest selling points for season 5 of Stranger Things was the fact that the last episode of the entire fucking series was going to be shown in theaters.
Yeah. Exactly. My example is exactly that. For the longest time, Netflix was totally against putting their movies in theaters. They're streaming only. They don't even like physical media. They still don't like physical media. You never see a Netflix movie on Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray. But this year alone, I'm not sure if it's because they're trying to buy Warner Brothers and they're trying to convince people that they care about the theatrical experience, but so many movies that came out from Netflix, they're in theaters for 1 to 2 weeks, but they're in theaters a 35 millimeter. Frankenstein was 35 millimeter. I think Blue Moon, the Richard Linklater film, that was 35 millimeter as well.
Yeah.
So you could kind of see them dipping their toes in the water, and I'm not trying to say that I'm for the 1 to 2 week theatrical window, because I think that's a little bit too short. But I think Warner Brothers' 90-day theatrical window is a little bit too much for 95% of most movies. Maybe the Barbies and the Oppenheimers, you keep those in longer. But I just saw the last movie I saw in theaters was Zootopia 2, and it was it's a great movie, but I saw it in the early morning and there was no one in that theater. Not saying that Zootopia 2 is a big failure because it's a $1 billion movie now, but there's so many movies that I see and they're 3 weeks in and there's no one in that theater and it's basically playing to no one, and the theater manager has to go turn off the screen. And I feel in situations like that, Netflix has the data to see what is popular and what movies they can extend longer, what movies they can restrict. Now, do I trust them to make the right decision there? Not necessarily, because they just cancel everything. But I think they do have a point that the theatrical movie going experience needs to be tweaked in some way, because right now they're not necessarily making any money. They're just trying to get people in seats. Like you said, it's $21 for Regal Unlimited. That's if
you're including
they're technically losing money and they're expecting you to buy food and concessions, and which most people do. But I think what people miss is that the theater going experience and theater companies need to change, and in order to be profitable. But I don't know. I still think Netflix is very bad. A very bad move, just because they don't like older movies. They don't you hardly see any movies It's a Wonderful Life on their service. And Warner Brothers is one of the older, basically the older studios, one of the first studios to ever exist. and
Yeah.
and they have like hundreds of years of film. So it's like, what happens to those TCM movies? What happens to it's
That's something I'm really worried
Yeah.
about. That's something that a friend of mine, Pat, was really worried about.
Yeah.
Friend of ours, Pat, was really worried about because he is very big on TCM, right?
Yeah.
And it's just something that we're gonna have to wait and see if it does end up in Netflix's hands. Like I don't, as a big DC guy, I'm a big DC fan, right? I am nervous as fuck as to what's gonna happen with the DC library. I'm really nervous because I don't know, because it's already hard enough for them to keep all this stuff on the HBO Max. Not everything that they do, especially like the animated stuff, is on HBO Max. The animated stuff is some of the best stuff that they do for DC, and not all of it is there. I highly doubt Netflix is really going to keep that on their service either.
Yeah.
If not less than what HBO Max does.
Yeah, it's definitely like I said, it's definitely like scary waters for sure for Netflix, but I don't know. Like, I really wish it wasn't these two options, because if I were to pick any, I would have picked Universal, because Universal is still like a legacy studio. If like, I think they're like the second oldest. Warner Brothers is the oldest, and then it's Universal, because they at least still respect the theatrical going experience. Paramount, on the other hand, like we already kind of talked about it, like that's the Ellison family, and we've already talked about how they've gutted pretty much all of CBS, and the fact that you would get like another studio controlling like CNN too, that is pro this administration.
Yeah.
It's just falls in line with state-run media, and that's something that you don't really want, especially in the current climate that we're in right now.
Yeah.
But I'll just say that this current administration isn't going to be in office forever. So
No.
it's like, I
Thank
feel
God.
like Paramount is probably the safest bet here, just because it's like this, like I said, this current administration isn't going to be in office forever. So if you're going to have Warner Brothers get bought out, it feels like Paramount is kind of like the lesser of two evils, but we don't know the damage that they're going to cause while this current administration is in office, like if they buy. But however, like these mergers take like 2 to 3 years to actually go through.
I was about to say, I think they said that things won't even be finalized until like end of 2026, beginning of 2027.
Yeah.
So depending on, when that actually happens, we don't know. I don't know when the next cycle would be. I guess pretty close to that time is like when the elections cycle would start back up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I really don't want it in Netflix's hands. I don't know what Paramount would do. I know that they are not very happy with dissenting opinions. So I don't know if they would put something out there, like I don't know if they would look at one battle after another and be like, yeah, we can put that out. Like, I don't think they would do that. So I'm afraid that, if they were to get Warner Brothers stuff, and I don't know if PTA still has a deal with, Warner Brothers for X amount of movies or whatever down the line, and then ends up making something with the same kind of political stance, whether or not they'd be willing to distribute it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all, like I said, it's all up in the air at this point, and I feel like I don't like to say that Paramount is the safer bet, because even like before the Ellison family like owned Paramount, I was never really a big fan of them, because especially all the stuff that happened with like the Scream, like the Scream like franchise, and then because I think what the important thing to learn from all of this is that Netflix, Paramount, and Warner Brothers, they're all terrible. Like especially just also the way David Zaslav just kind of went about it, because I'm pretty sure that he tanked, like when he was canceling everything and gutting everything, he was tanking like the brand. And then this year they had so many successful movies and brought the brand up, and now he's like, they're playing Russian roulette with our media and our culture.
I don't even, I think that was kind of on purpose. Like, because they were probably looking to sell, essentially brought the public value down to make it seem like it's easier for people to buy. They started getting bids in. Then this year, things started looking good. So it's like, see, you'll get this value out of it. Like, there's probably just weird business, things going on.
Yeah.
And that's why they had all these weird years, and that's why he's tanking shit just to make it seem like, I don't know, but it was a weird year last year for Warner Brothers. Like, not only the discourse of Acme versus Coyote, but also with Batgirl and like people just after Zaslav's throat. I mean, obviously, because
Yeah.
why wouldn't they be after all the stuff he was saying? But yeah, who knows? Like, I don't know if I want Netflix to have it. I don't know if I want Paramount to have it. Honestly, if they could figure out a secret third option that, we
Right.
all don't know about, that's going to somehow be better, then I'd much rather have that. But that doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
I think all the filmmakers should just come together, pull all their money, and
Just pull a Green Bay Packers and just have everyone,
yeah.
fan on it.
Which gets to a point I'll get to in a minute, but one interesting thing that I found out about like all the stuff that I've been reading about this is that
Yeah.
Netflix only wants HBO Max in this situation. They don't want any of Warner Brothers TV. So if it actually went to Netflix, Warner Brothers TV will still kind of it'll be like siphoned off into like other small little companies. But in my mind, like, that doesn't make any sense for Netflix because you already have the most popular streamer and you're buying the second most popular streamer. Well, what's the point? Because I'm pretty sure most of the money that Warner Brothers is making is from Warner Brothers TV because it's like the grandmas that are watching, I don't know, Dr. Pimple Popper at 2 a.m. and ad for freaking Viagra is playing like for the 5th time, and that's like all that ad revenue is going to Warner Brothers from it's just interesting that Netflix isn't interested in that business model because for some reason they make tons of money from streaming, even though I don't necessarily think that they do because they just started making merchandise for like their movies and licensing their movies like K-pop Demon Hunters for like toys and shirts and stuff like that. So I in a way I'm like, where did all this money come from? Like,
Well,
82 billion. So it's
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you think that, at least on the TV side, that there's a possibility that HBO or Warner Brothers or whatever, they decided to split it up into 2 different prices? Or like, if you want this, you get, if you want to get all the movies, you get it for this. If you want to get movies and TV, it's for this. And it was just too much for Netflix. I mean, there's a possibility that that's why they didn't go with the TV and the movies.
Yeah, that could be a possibility as well. But they probably just aren't interested in it too. So, but that's the other thing about Paramount is that Paramount's buying everything. Like they're buying, and which also scares me because you have a studio just owning like all of culture and media. But what I was gonna say to kind of end like this topic is that I feel like with this news coming out about Netflix and Paramount, it's obviously most important to support independent media at this time. Support Drake's podcast, the First Watch podcast, and support this podcast, the Real Lovers podcast. It's like, because I feel like independent media is really the place to go because I don't know how independent films or like studios like A24 will survive because that's still a question that I think a lot of us need to answer. But I don't know. I just think 2026 and beyond, like that, it's definitely independent media will definitely be the future, hopefully. So yeah,
it's very funny you say that because like Kevin Smith was coming to Atlanta at one point, and I went. He did a screening of Dogma for the anniversary of Dogma, and he also did a Q&A afterwards. And if I had the guts to actually raise my hands and not have an anxiety attack and ask him a question, it was going to be something along the lines of like, based on what you see from A24, which he obviously worked with Tusk and things like Neon and Focus Features and all these smaller like people distributing films, and the fact that the popularity is actually skewing more towards those films as opposed to large films from Warner Brothers and Paramount and all these big companies. Do you think that, A24 and Neon and stuff are going to end up taking over kind of like that spot? as what you would see, from a long time ago, would they be the new big deal and big thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people are going more towards that direction of like smaller independent films because I feel like a lot of independent films know that they have nothing to lose, so they're going to put it all out there.
Yeah.
And they're gonna work harder, and it's far more passionate. It doesn't feel like an assembly line like a lot of these like films that are just kind of put out by Netflix or put out by some Warner Brothers films. I'm not saying all.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Prime films that also feel that way. That it feels like we're just getting out there to get our SAG credits and do what we need to do to keep our insurance going. But like I feel like A24 and Neon are going to be the ones that actually keep things pushing as far as getting newer, better, crazier stories out there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially a company like A24, like they have, I don't know if Neon has like the same thing, but they have like the AAA 24 membership. It's a way for like their fans to support them even more and kind of like keep them afloat. And it's a great value too. I'm not saying like sponsor me A24, but if you want to sponsor me, because I think all this month in December they were doing the 24 days of A24. They're releasing like a film for free, like on the A24 app, and that's just like a clever like outreach to just kind of like encourage people to watch more A24 films and be like, hey, there's other ways to like watch movies than besides like these three big companies that have been in the industry for a long time. But yeah.
Well, even I don't know if you've touched on this on social media or not, but even Letterboxd recently, like this week, has released the video store.
Yeah.
And they're all movies that I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Like ever.
All unreleased movies as well.
Yeah, and they seem great. Now, granted, the prices, depending on when they initially were released, could be a little steep for a rental.
Yeah,
like for the newer ones, they're like $20 for a rental, but then the older ones are like $3.99 for a rental. So like it depends on which film you're looking at. But still, that is a great way to get films that a lot of people wanted to see.
Yeah,
give them the ability to see it, and like more smaller independent films.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that because I feel like that's a huge step for Letterboxd, like to just get into like video film distribution because like I think it was like It Ends, like the film It Ends, like that's the $20 one that everyone was complaining about. I feel like that was a little bit unjustified just because that film played at a small film festival that basically like very few amount of people saw, and Letterboxd basically put it for the masses to see, or everyone that has like a Letterboxd account to actually own or rent. And $20, it may sound steep, but that's like, I think that's premium VOD prices. Like if you were to watch Now You See Me, Now You Don't, like on Amazon Prime Video, that's what you would pay because it's still in theaters. And I don't know. And it's an independent film, but the Letterboxd video store, like I'll be very interested to see how that kind of like progresses in 2026 and beyond. But speaking of Letterboxd, thank you for that clever segue.
Yes, sir.
I have like moving on to our next segment. Since you mentioned Letterboxd, Drake, I'm assuming you're a fan of Letterboxd. Like,
of course.
You're obsessed, like
of course.
Myself. So I always ask like my guests on every single episode, what's your recent activity in our last four watched segment. So Drake, without further ado, what are your last four watched?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to pull it back up for like 2 seconds.
Oh, you're good.
So I do have four very interesting movies. I will throw on a fifth because it was on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went to the movies and I did a double feature, kind of like what I was talking about earlier.
Right.
There was a re-release, obviously, of The Grinch that was going on. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Ron Howard's version of The Grinch.
Mm-hmm.
On December 12th, they decided to re-release the movies for a week. In my theater, it was done in the RPX theaters, which are basically the same size screen as IMAX almost, and then just not the same audio, but, just better seating, bigger screen, all that fun stuff. So I went and saw The Grinch because I'd never seen it in a theater. So I said, hey, I'm going to do that because I love The Grinch and I watch it every year. So I figured that'd be the best way to watch it this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, a couple hours later, I went and saw the movie Dust Bunny,
Ooh.
which was okay.
Yeah.
If anyone has seen the movie Leon the Professional, it's basically that movie mixed with a creature feature. It's almost beat for beat Leon the Professional.
Yeah.
Like within 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, oh, this is Leon. Like, okay, I know what this is. All right, cool. So I kind of know where this is going. I still watched it. I still hung out and finished it just because there were some really cool like camera shots and like different things that they did that I thought were really cool. I think it's really undeserved of a R rating. I think it should be a PG-13 movie, but that's just me. And then I should have watched it on the same day, but I watched Wake Up Dead Man because I've been waiting on that for a very long time. I watched Cruising the same day by William Friedkin and with Al Pacino. Very good movie. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to say go in blind. That's the best way to do it.
Maybe a future episode of the First Watch podcast.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, we'll definitely run it because it's really good. I would love to talk about it with you. And then The Princess Bride, obviously, today.
Yeah, great. That's a great list. You know what? The Dust Bunny is. I've seen like the poster, and I really don't know anything about it. And hearing you saying that it's like Leon, like the movie Leon.
It's very much like that because if you watch it, if you've seen Leon and you watch it, I'd be shocked if you don't make that comparison.
Okay.
Because it felt very Leon. Like I watched Leon maybe 3 years ago, and like that was the last time I watched it, and I was still like, oh yeah, like this is what it is. I'm like, okay, I know what this is. But like, don't get me wrong, it's got some cool camera work. The Dust Bunny itself, like you could tell there's a little hokey CGI. Again, didn't deserve an R rating. I don't know why they didn't push for that. I don't know why they didn't go to the board and be like, this is dumb. I don't know why you're giving us an R rating.
Right.
But yeah, like it was decent.
Right. Leave it to the MPAA to just completely just drop the ball on all ratings, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that's actually going to hurt them more than help them because it's an art. Like, easily a PG-13 movie, I would easily go take a teenager to go see this. It's not scary. It's not, there's nothing in it. You don't have to worry about anything whenever you go into that movie, at least not in my eyes. So I don't know. But that was weird to me. I think that's going to actually stifle its ability to make money in the box office. But, whatever.
But what'd you think of Wake Up Dead Man?
I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it. I had a good time.
I haven't seen it yet because I have to watch it on Netflix because the theaters, it was only 1 to 2 weeks, I believe. I think it was a little bit longer because Ryan Johnson actually pushed for that. But I'm excited for it because I love Ryan Johnson. This might be a little controversial, but I like the first Knives Out movie, but I don't think we needed 2 sequels. It's like...
I'm going to be honest with you. I tweeted at him and said we need 20 more. So I'm on the other side of this. Like, I didn't like 2 as much as I liked 1, but I liked 3 more than 1 and 2. But that may also be recency bias, to be honest.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely like anticipating it, especially since
it's really good.
Since you like it more than 2. I haven't seen 2, but all the stuff that I saw from Glass Onion, it didn't necessarily look all that great to me, and that's why I was kind of like, I don't know, Ryan, I love that you're getting your bag from Netflix, but can you please make something original again? Or where's your Star Wars trilogy that supposedly Disney I think it's shelved at this point.
Yeah, it probably is. But in all honesty, I'd take more of these than I would of his Star Wars movies. Honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Please don't tell me you're not a Last Jedi fan. Please don't tell me. Are you a Last Jedi fan?
I mean, it's decent. I'm not gonna sit there and die on a hill for it, but it's decent. Yeah. I had a good time with it. I saw it in theaters. I liked it.
It's my favorite Star Wars movie ever, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like it gets unjustifiably hated.
Yeah, I think the hate is a bit much.
Yeah.
It's a bit much. Like, there's no need to hate on it as much as people do.
Especially all the Luke stans that are like, I can't believe that he would do this and he would isolate himself. I'm like, do you know what he went through? Did you watch the movies? Yeah. I know media literacy is dead, but...
It's beyond dead.
It's beyond dead. But yeah, But yeah, that's a great last for watch, and also to end it with Princess Bride, which I almost said I was talking to a friend, funny, because I was showing him that I recently got that on physical media, and I said Princess Diaries by accident.
I did that in my head earlier today when I was like, where is it? And I'm like, that's not the right movie. Okay.
It's funny because I didn't even stop myself, and I just started saying, oh yeah, Princess Diaries. And my friend's like, he's like looking up on Letterboxd, just like, did Rob Reiner do Princess Diaries? Because we were talking about Rob Reiner, but we're definitely going to be running Princess Bride on your podcast, so stay tuned to that. But yeah, that's a great last for watched. My last for watched, like I mentioned, I watched Zootopia 2 in theaters. Great film.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good as the first. However, I think that a lot of the characters, including like Ke Kwan's character, which I thought was great in the film, he was completely charming. I love the little fanny pack they added. He plays like the snake, and he has like a fanny pack like on his character. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, there's so many like little references kind of like buried deep in this film, and
dude, so many.
I don't know. I don't want to reveal all those because I don't want to spoil them for people that haven't seen it. But a lot of people have seen this movie. It made $1 billion. So no matter what I say, people are still gonna love this movie. But I feel like my main issues with Zootopia 2, it's kind of like an issue that I had with the first one, is that it's basically racism for babies.
Yeah.
This one is more colonialism for babies or fascism for babies, kind of like showing like that side. And I think corporatism. But I think that's great that a kids movie is kind of like is doing that and making kids aware. But it's if the kids actually get it, like that's and if the parents are actually having those conversations with their kids.
Well, I don't know if you remember, like that's what cartoons used to do back in the day.
Yeah,
Gargoyles did it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of like live action shows did it all the time. Saved by the Bell did it. Family Matters did it.
And I feel like cartoons can get away with it a little bit easier too, because most of the scripts, especially like cartoons like on TV, like on Cartoon Network and stuff like that, or even like the kitty shows like Bluey and stuff, because Bluey is incredibly progressive. Like there's so much, like I've seen like a few episodes and I'm just like, what? This is actually pretty woke, and I actually kind of like this. But I know woke doesn't have it doesn't have a meaning anymore, but you know what I mean. It's I think the reason why those cartoons can get away with it is because those scripts can get approved like so quickly, just because some CEO or some head is just like, oh yeah, this will be good for the kids. Meanwhile, like the writers are sneaking in like the fascism is bad, kids, and stuff like that. I think I've always found that pretty funny. But Zootopia 2, good. I like the first Zootopia a little bit better. And then I went on a Christmas binge. I watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
There you go.
For the first time.
For the first time.
I've never seen it before. Vikash warned me about that one because he said that you and Pat from the commentary pod really love this.
I watch it every year.
Yeah, I thought this one was pretty funny. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Chevy Chase, so
just separate that and just have a good time.
Yeah. The gags are pretty good. I'll just say that like spoilers for this movie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but the one gag that'll spoil, the exploding cat.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. I just love just like the antics that this family is getting themselves into, and I don't know. It's pretty funny. I wouldn't say it's like laugh out loud funny personally for me. But I don't know. I think I had a great time, and it also has a pretty good message, like towards the end, like most comedies do. But I think really Chevy Chase is the one that kind of like soured it for me, just because I'm a huge fan of Community, and there's some great episodes that he was on Community like during his run, but all of the backlash that he got from like that, and how he didn't understand like the scripts, and it really soured me on him. So whenever I watch something from the past, it's always it always kind of like I'm always kind of like side-eyeing him a little bit. But I don't know. You love this film, so
I do. I also love Community, and I'm a big fan of Community. I try to give him a little bit of grace, and my thought is like he was old.
Yeah.
Whenever he did Community, he didn't want to be there. He was old. dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna give him that at least. You know?
Yeah, yeah, he was old, but Leonard, the guy who plays Leonard on Community, he was, I think, older than him.
Yeah, but I
And
don't
rest in
think he's
peace.
at the same stardom as fucking Chevy Chase.
True. And you have Dan Harmon kind of running circles around him. And not saying that I like Dan Harmon as a writer, but from the working conditions that I hear, like,
Yeah.
especially in retrospect, like, it sounds like it's kind of like a hellish work
Yeah.
environment where he's like changing the scripts, like, as they're shooting, and it's like, oh, we can't do this. And it's like, I can see how Chevy, that's used to kind of like making films like this one way, how he can be a little bit frustrating. Now, does that justify any of his actions that he did on set? No. But yeah. But Christmas Vacation, I think it's real. It's a great Christmas movie for sure, but not my favorite Christmas movie because I watched Elf.
Hell yeah.
John Favreau's Elf, starring Will Ferrell. I watch this every single year.
Okay.
I don't know how many rewatches this is on Letterboxd, but
I was about to say, if this was the first, I was gonna scream.
yeah, whenever December 1st comes around, it's the first movie that I queue up.
Yeah.
And this movie, it's like fine wine, gets
Mhm.
better with age.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell's great. Zoe Deschanel, like, I'm not usually the biggest fan of her, but she's so great in this. And I don't know if it's also just 2025 and just I'm just very emotional this year, but like towards the end of this film, I was tearing up. And
Yeah.
I tear up at a lot of movies, but this movie specifically, I was like bawling my eyes out.
It's got
But
me a couple times.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Elf is great. Will Ferrell is great, and I don't know. I just love that movie. More Jon Favreau movies that aren't MCU, like
Yeah.
Chef.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, like Chef, Elf, like there's there's other movies, but I can't name them right now. But yeah,
Yeah.
Elf is great. 5 stars. Perfect Christmas movie. And then to end my last for watched, I watched a movie. I guess you can call it a Christmas movie. I don't think you can see the poster. I think my microphone is probably blocking it. No, you can't see it. It's too blurry. But movie that came out last year. I saw it in theaters for the first time. I actually originally saw this on Canopy for free, and I saw it it was coming back in theaters for like 2 days only. It's Hundreds of Beavers.
Oh,
It came out
okay.
last year.
Still haven't seen it.
And do what you can and watch. I think it's still streaming for free on Canopy or Hoopla if you have one of the streaming services with your library. Do everything after you finish recording. Watch Hundreds of Beavers, because
I might.
if you like Looney Tunes and old 1920s black and white comedies, this movie is like right up your alley, because what they're able to do, like, to make like an old fashioned movie, but also use like 2024 like technology and I don't know, it's so creative and so weird, so off the wall. It's absolutely amazing. And seeing this with a crowd of people, like in the theater, it was a small independent, it was at Dreamland Cinema. It's a small little local theater that in my town, and it seats 25 people, and those 25 people were laughing uproariously. We were like throwing popcorn at the screen, not like a chicken jockey and stuff like that. But they were having like the time of their lives. And I know we were talking about like Netflix and Warner Brothers, how the theatrical experience is probably going to die because of that.
Yeah.
Seeing Hundreds of Beavers in a theater with like-minded individuals that love slapstick humor, it was probably the best experience that I've had like all year, to be honest. But yeah, the movie is great though. It's very like deadpan, slapstick, like all those like type of gags.
Yeah.
But there's a moment like in the third act, like of this movie. I don't really want to like tell too much about the story because there is like a small story, but there's a moment where it involves like a minecart and Beaver is chasing like the main character. And I'm sitting there in this theater in the third act when I'm watching like this action sequence happening, and I'm just like, I think this is a 5-star movie. Like this,
Really?
rated
Okay.
it 5 stars. And
Okay.
I've always like loved those moments, like when you're sitting at home or even in a theater and you're watching a movie and you're just like, this is a 5-star movie. There's nothing that gets better than this moment right here, and this is the seal of approval. And like, I know you haven't seen Hundreds of Beavers, but have you ever had like a moment like that, like in a theater where you're watching a movie and you're just like, crap?
Yeah, the highway scene in One Battle After Another.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
Yeah. I'm not
okay.
I'm
And
not
then
the biggest fan of that movie, but that scene, I will say, it's a 5-star. It's a 5-star moment for sure.
yeah. And then of course, like, the followed up with the Who Are You that has
Mhm.
like so many different layers to it.
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
like, yep. That's all I
Yeah.
needed. That's all I needed. That right there.
Yeah.
And 5 stars. Easy.
Right. But
I
yeah.
was like, cool.
But yeah, Hundreds of Beavers, 5-star. Don't stop what you're doing, but after this, watch Hundreds of Beavers. I think you'll have like a great time with it. It's like, if the filmmakers want to come on the podcast for an interview, I'm willing to have them on. But yeah,
Just put it out there and I'm sure it'll happen.
But yeah, but that was our last 4 watched. Let us know your last 4 watched in the comments down below. But Drake, we're like an hour in. I think this is the longest I've ever been, but we just started talking. But I think it's a perfect time to talk about It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, sir.
Well, who are you? I told you, George, I'm your guardian angel.
What is it you want, Mary? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Welcome home, Mr. Bailey.
Sentimental hogwash. I wish I had $1 million.
That was a clip from the film It's a Wonderful Life, directed by Frank Capra. It came out in 1946. It is number 51 on the Letterboxd Top 250. I'm just going to read the quick synopsis here from the internet. An angel is sent from heaven to help a desperately frustrated businessman to see the value of his own life. Now, Drake, when you saw this list, like when I think you picked out a whole bunch of movies from from all the movies that I'm covering on the Letterboxd Top 250, but since it's Christmas, I felt like it was necessary for us to cover this movie. It's a Wonderful Life. It's a first watch for me, but what made you want to cover this movie for sure? And
whenever you gave me that list, I was looking at Christmas ones because I didn't know when we would be able to do a podcast again together. I know we were talking about it, and it had been a minute since I had seen It's a Wonderful Life. I saw it as a kid, like a long time ago on TV, and then I was like, you know what? I haven't seen it in a long time. I was like, if we end up doing this would be a good excuse to watch it again. Because I have what I like to call entertainment ADD. I have a hard time choosing what I'm going to watch next.
Yeah.
So if I am quote unquote forced to watch it for a purpose like this, a creative purpose like this, then I am more inclined to do so.
Yeah.
So I ended up, picking that because I was like, well, if we end up doing that, at least I have a reason to watch it. You told me, hey, let's do it. And I said, perfect. And decided to watch it again. Did you watch the color or black and white version of this?
That's a really good question because, to be honest, when I was doing the research for it, I've told you this like off mic, like before, like in chats. The research for this almost killed me in a way. There's so much to this movie, and I kind of had to throw out a lot of that research just because it just became too much at this point. But the color version is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
that actually exists, and I think that's the Prime Video version. Like Prime Video, I think just defaults to it. I fortunately had a DVD copy of it just because it's been sitting on my shelf for the longest time. I bought it years ago, and that's what happens. Like I buy movies like all the time, and they just sit on my shelf because I'm like, I need to own this, but I don't know when I plan on watching this. So many movies are like that, and that's why so many movies like It's a Wonderful Life and Princess Bride, like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, they're first watches for me. And but this is It's a Wonderful Life. Like, I've always known of its existence, and like I would see it playing like on TV, but I never really gave it my full attention, just because I don't know about your household, but my household was always like A Christmas Carol, especially since my name's Marley, Jacob Marley,
Yeah,
like the
makes
ghost
sense.
of Jacob Marley. So and not just A Christmas Carol, but A Muppet Christmas Carol as well.
There you go.
Because that's
Showed
that's
that
the
to my
best.
niece recently.
That's the best version of A Christmas Carol. But I don't know. I had a great time with it. It's a Wonderful Life. I think
Yeah.
that this is not like, especially in the time that we're living in right now, it's honestly like the perfect movie, like to watch. Just if you're ever feeling down about your life, and like I just did, like I'm doing like the M. Night Shyamalan retrospective series, and M. Night is always about kind of like finding the optimism in everything, and I feel like that this movie is like embodies like M. Night Shyamalan, just because it's all like this businessman, shoot, I gotta pull my notes. Sorry. George Bailey. Like, he's like upset with his life, that he's not where he's at, like in his current
Where he wants to be.
current life. But it's all about like appreciating what you have, and like the people that you have around you, and how you affected those people. Like, I don't know. I'm going long-winded. I haven't asked you like what you thought about this, movie, but I think that we're gonna have a really great discussion with this for sure, because I found so much to relate with this movie, specifically because like I grew up in a small town like George Bailey, and I had dreams of like moving to LA and like making like these great films and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm not in LA, but like there's things to be proud of. Like there's things that like I'm talking to you about, like all of the great films that I saw, and we're having like these incredible conversations. Like we watched Seven together, like on your podcast. It's like there's things to be proud of, even though the dreams and aspirations that you had like when you were a kid didn't work out. There's still things that to be proud of. You just gotta dig deeper. But Drake, sorry.
No.
What you think of It's a Wonderful Life?
Like I said, I had seen it a long time ago.
Mhm.
And at the time, I just watched it to watch it. And like I was paying attention, but I wasn't really paying attention, right? I didn't relate to it at that time. Now that time has gone on and more things have happened in my life, I very much related to that, especially this year.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting year. I'm not going to divulge too much, but it's been difficult, and feeling the way that, like, I had George Bailey's feelings for at least the beginning of the year, and I had those feelings already for quite some time. And like I was very much like drowning my sorrows in alcohol and stuff like that. So then seeing this message and like seeing it on a screen was like,
Thank you so much for listening to the Rail Lovers podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast and want to hear more content like this, you should donate to the podcast for just $1 a month over at patreon.com/The Rail Lovers podcast. Yep, that's right. Only $1 a month. That's a complete bargain in this economy. By doing this, you are supporting independent media and helping us keep the lights on over at the Rail Lovers podcast. As a token of our gratitude, if you support us, we will give you access to exclusive shows like Small Screen Lovers, where we're covering current release TV shows as well as old TV shows. And good afternoon, good morning, while Marley Silverbrand and Ryan Dungan from the Old Man Orange podcast talk about their love of movies, comic books, and video games while being 14 hours apart and separated by a giant body of water. You will also gain access to our community Discord server, where you can interact and talk with like-minded individuals about all the movies you love. So is that a great value at only $1 a month? I think so. So why not head on over to patreon.com/The Rail Lovers podcast and subscribe today. I'll wait. Oh, what are the odds? As I'm recording this promo, I just received a new subscription. Don't you want to be like them? It's just that simple. Head on over to patreon.com/The Real Lovers Podcast. That's patreon.com/The Real Lovers Podcast. And thank you for your continued support.
Fuck. I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, yep, yeah, all right. That's basically how I've been feeling. And I get that because I feel like my life really hasn't gone anywhere. I haven't done much. I'm 29 years old. I really don't have much to show for it. Or I am not where I want to be. So I related to George Bailey so much in this time around, more so than I would have the first time I watched this movie, which is something that you don't really realize how movies and stories in general can have that effect on you until you give one a watch a couple years down the road, and when you're in a different place in your life, when you've lived more of a life, and then you have that watch, you have those realizations, and you go, whoa. You go, oh, so other people have had this feeling. And then you don't feel so alone. And it feels nice. It feels great. So, like, yes, it was crazy to see that in front of me and be like, but it was also like, people had this fucking feeling back in the 40s.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely had this feeling back in the 40s. And I think that, like, the way what I mentioned that this film came out in 1946, is directed by Frank Capra, is important year 1946, is because that was a year after World War II, and this is all, and honestly, like, the perfect movie to come out, like, right around that time, because people are in that transitional period of, like, we just had, like, this bloody war, and like, we were involved, and even like the main actor, like Jimmy Stewart, like he fought in the war, and he came back, like, this is what his first movie. And I thought, like, when I found that out, that was like absolutely insane. And but I also found out that, like, it was also like, it wasn't necessarily written for Jimmy Stewart as well. It was written for why am I drawing a blank on his name? Cary Grant.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been an easy, layup for him too.
Yeah, for sure. But I think Jimmy Stewart, especially watching this movie for the first time, I think since he fought, like, in the war, he brought, like, a level of, like, empathy that I don't think Cary Grant would have brought to this role, because Cary Grant was huge at that time. He's like probably one of the most well-known actors, like, of all time, like, and especially for that era. And Jimmy Stewart, like, he was also well known, but it's like wouldn't say that he necessarily had like the success Cary Grant had. So it's a very interesting, like casting decision for sure, that the people involved, like, went through. But another interesting thing that I found is that this film also built sets. Like, the whole town was a gigantic set.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea. I thought that they actually shot in, like, an actual town, like, on location, but the fact that they built everything for this movie, absolutely insane. And it's something you don't necessarily see movies do anymore. No. Like, it, and I honestly want them to go back to that. Like, yeah, you get a little bit of that. Like, you get, like, Jordan Peele's Nope, that built, like, the entire ranch, like, all the sets around it, and I think Universal Studios is still using it and stuff like that. But to build, like, an entire town and everything where they're filming at, like, just build everything, and also to recreate snow, because normally they use cornflakes and they paint it white, but the way they had to film it and the way it would be too loud and stuff like that. So it was like a new way for everything. It set the standard for what movies like this will be, and I don't know, it's absolutely incredible. But I love this movie. Like, it's an easy 5 stars for me. But do you want to just get into it? Do you want to just get into it? Like,
let's get into it.
Some of these scenes, just because, I know I kind of compared this film a little bit to A Christmas Carol, and how my family was more of a Christmas Carol like family, and not It's a Wonderful Life. And there are some similarities, but I think what is different about this is that I love that, like, the flashbacks are about 80% of the movie, and I would say, and it's really like you are like the angels. Like the way this film is introduced, where it's like the prayers and Clarence like talking, and it's them kind of like being hopeful for George Bailey because this person means so much to him, and it's a great way to introduce a character because you don't even see like this person like at all at first, but it's all these people and how this person has affected them in so many ways, especially since like the business that he runs, like he is supporting people's mortgages and keeping them afloat. And yeah, he's losing money himself, but like he's doing it out of the kindness of his heart compared to the villain of the story, which is basically capitalism at this point. He's basically just like the role of capitalism.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I honestly just love their back and forth. I love their back and forth because it's like so there's so many times throughout this movie where George Bailey could have sold out like his dream, sold out and just had like the easy life and stuff like that. In fact, like what's the guy's name, or is it Mr. Potter?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Potter even like mentioned like hey, I want you to come work for me. Like this is like later in the movie. I want you to come work with me because I think you're really talented. And George Bailey says no.
He's
and
like,
then
no, dude.
my question is for you, Drake. Is like, have you ever had moments like that where where you could have made like a decision to make your life better, or the decision would have made your life better, but the morals involved wouldn't align with you, and then the decision that you made actually it kept your morals aligned with you. Does that make any sense? Or
Oh, it makes sense. I'm just it's like you're presented with that fork in the road, and you had to
you're right.
or that two pass in the road.
While you think about that, because I've actually had honestly like multiple of those, because I'm a little older than you. I'm 35 years old, and I've honestly like when I had the opportunity to move to Los Angeles, like I think it was like when I graduated from college in 2013. My friend got into USC, and he was going to go to he graduated from USC as a film major. I think it was like a couple of years ago. And when he got into the school, he offered for me to move down there with him. And I just went to community college and with like a film degree at my local community college. And I've always had like a problem in my actual life. I'm going to get real deep. I'm sorry. But I've always had a problem with like taking risks in my life. And I feel like when I look back at those risks, what if I did move down to LA and was roommates with one of my best friends that went to USC, I always kind of like look at like where my life actually would be. Like maybe I would be working on film sets and have opportunities that I never would have had, like living where I'm currently living right now. But then like I take a step back when I told him that I didn't want to do it just because he had more of a portfolio than I did, and I wasn't sure about like if I would even get jobs down there. I didn't want to be like sleeping in my car and stuff like that. And I told him no, and look at where I'm at. Where I'm at right now. I have a podcast with like over 100 episodes. I'm talking to you about like this wonderful film and all the people that I met like on social media and TikTok, and I was able to kind of like create like my own kind of like community of like-minded individuals. And yeah, I'm not as successful as my friend that's working on productions, but am I happier? At times, probably not. But but it's I don't know where my life would be if I just went down there without a portfolio and without the knowledge of what LA was actually like, especially as like a small town kid that wasn't used to going to a big city like that. Yeah. So I don't know. Life is full of choices, and it's up to us, like as individuals, to kind of like live with those choices.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was long-winded and a little bit emotional, but yeah. But is there anything that
I mean, maybe you can count getting sober?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because, like, I could have easily kept going down the same road and hanging out with the same people and doing the same things over and over and over again that I knew that I was stuck in. But then I was like, F that, I'm done. And it led to so many more different openings. Like, it led to just a better lifestyle, the ability to meet new people, which I was kind of shelling myself up and not really wanting to because I was just more willing to be a recluse whenever I was in that little fog. But once that kind of ended and I made that decision for myself, it opened up for other things, like better things. So I guess you can maybe count that.
Yeah, congratulations on being sober, because I'm also sober as well, and I made that
Nice.
decision because I used to do a lot of things, not dangerous things. It's like it was like alcohol and like
Yeah.
other like medicinal like products, and like like I had like good moments with like those friend groups, but I remember kind of like dug something out like with with you mentioning that, just because like I had like great moments with like those friends, and we would like be partying and like smoking like all the time. But I remember I woke up like one day and I was just like, I don't know if it was like an out of body experience, but I was just like, is this what I want my life to be? And I was like, no, because it was just like, it's like we smoke, we play video games, we go to sleep, and we just repeat that process over and over. And I'm just like, yeah, I partake every now and then, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like it goes back to choices. Life is about choices, and you living with those choices. And I don't know, it's incredibly powerful, and also powerful that we that kind of unlocks something in both of us about like the choices we made in our lives compared to the choices that George Bailey makes in this movie. But I know I kind of jumped all over. I started with like the opening, but I just had to mention that. And but yeah, what do we think of like how this movie kind of like starts with like the flashbacks, and how we're kind of like how it starts like Clarence is basically kind of like looking at his life, and Clarence is basically is the angel and the narrator that is looking at George Bailey's life, that George Bailey is gonna commit suicide, and Clarence is here to kind of do like basically a reconnaissance mission in a way, where he's like getting the intel to like convince him to not kill himself. And I don't know, I just think it's a really interesting way to like tell a story, for sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I haven't seen very many movies in their entirety from like this time period, from the 40s or whatever. Or I've seen a few movies earlier than that, and obviously things from the 50s and 60s more so. But I don't recall any other movie from that time period actually doing something similar like that, like off the top of my head. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I like that they, did it this way, as opposed to extremely linear the entire time, because it's not necessarily linear whenever you have all those flashbacks and stuff. So I did actually enjoy that for a movie, so early in the whole movie making process. I thought that was really cool that they did it that way, instead of just just A to B, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely like a very like you said, a very nonlinear, also Christopher Nolan like filmmaking. So Christopher Nolan, you can tell a whole bunch of people were inspired by this movie, as because of just the new ways that this film kind of introduced to like tell a story. But yeah. So like the flashbacks we get like young George at age 12, like about him rescuing his brother from a frozen pond. I think that's just like for me, like that's just an example, like an easy example for Clarence to just like, hey, your brother wouldn't be alive if you weren't around. It's like like I've definitely had like friendships like that, and definitely like family members like that, where like if I wasn't near them, like I'm not saying that they wouldn't be around, but they wouldn't be the same, or they wouldn't be the same as they are today. And that's just like the power of like the connection that we can all build with each other, and like the community and how important community is.
Yeah. I think it's also a great way to showcase like who he is right off the bat too. It's like, this is him. This is how he is.
Yeah.
So then we know that for the rest of the movie. So I think that's a good way to do it, you know.
Yeah, and then we get like Mr. Gower's drugstore about him being inebriated pharmacist and accidentally like poisoning, like which is a wild like storyline, but yeah, but George is the one that basically says like this is what you're doing, and then like when like the drugstore like his boss like finds out, he's like completely horrified.
Yeah.
Like it's like have you ever had a moment like that, like you're at your job where you're like
No
not that to that
comment.
extreme, but
Pretty close.
yeah.
No
I think
comment.
no comment from me as well.
No comment. There's a reason things had to change.
Yeah. We'll cut this out. Cut that part
No,
out.
it's fine.
But I don't know. I thought that was kind of a wild moment.
No,
That
it did make me kind of
boss
cringe
was
on the
literally
inside, and I was like,
poisoning
fuck.
people.
I was like, it literally was one of those. I was like, ha, like I kind of saw myself in that a little bit, and I was like, I was like, all right, it's like, all right, let's just get through this part.
Right, exactly. And then you get like the high school dance as well about him. This is just pure joy, in my opinion, and just like the empathy that this movie has. Like I love like how the gym opens up into like a swimming pool as well, like during that dance, and it's just
that was great.
Like, this is just a good moment. Like I'm sure we all have had moments like this in our lives where we like it's like not to be cliche or to use this brand, but it's a Kodak moment.
Yeah.
Like this feels like it's George Bailey's like Kodak moment where it's like you can't take this back, and if you weren't around this, you wouldn't have this experience of just like pure insanity. So this is kind of like how I said like in my last four watch, like Hundreds of Beavers, if I wasn't around, I wouldn't be able to see like this movie in this small independent theater with all these like-minded individuals. So yeah, this movie's just great to just kind of like take a step back and just appreciate your life. And yeah,
and it may hit you
I'm
very
be repeating
differently.
myself, but sorry.
Yeah, no, like it may hit you very differently. You know, if you were to watch it this year and then 5 years down the line, depending on what's going on in between those 5 years, it may hit you very differently.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of like for me, it was for Interstellar. It didn't necessarily hit home for me, but it's now watching it as an adult that has I don't have a kid, but I have like a niece, like a younger niece, that movie hits a little bit harder just because I have someone that I'm connected a little bit with, but it's that movie hits hard. I cry at the end of that movie now. But yeah. But like moving on after like the high school dance, we get to like his father's death and George is ready to leave for college. Like George has always wanted to like go to college and kind of like what I aspired to do, like go to college and kind of like and kind of like get out of like the family business and do like his own dreams. But he's kind of like has like another fork in the road where it's like if you were to go to college, he like since his father is dead now, like Mr. Potter would buy out his father's company. Am I getting that right? Where it's like
I think so, yeah.
But because like I mentioned, Mr. Potter is basically just like he's capitalism.
Yeah.
Here, just eat up everything in this town. Which, by the way, I didn't mention the town like that.
The name of the town?
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't have that in my notes.
See if I can find it.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, Bedford Falls. Yeah, but Mr. Potter is just trying to eat up everything in this town and claim everything is his, and like this is yet another example of capitalism just being the root of all evil. If you haven't listened to all my other episodes of this series, it seems like all of these movies that are in the 250 have like this theme about capitalism just destroying.
Yeah. If you look at the list,
it's very, but it makes sense too, just because that a lot of these movies, including It's a Wonderful Life, would be talking about like these themes about capitalism being bad is because artists have to deal with capitalism on the daily. You're an artist, I'm an artist, and it's like these are really easy themes for us to talk about,
Yeah.
and just because these are personal life experiences that we all go through. I don't know. I just think it's funny that it's like pretty much all the movies on the list have.
It makes sense because it's something that we have dealt with and will continue to deal with, and for as long as we're going to be around. So it's going to be a theme that everyone is going to be able to connect to, in the easiest way possible, because we've all got to deal with it, and especially us adults who have to get up and do shit. Like we all understand it.
Yeah. We all understand it, and it all eats it away at us for sure. But yeah. But the interesting thing here is like George has like I mentioned, George has the ability to go to college and go to like this really great school, but he sends his brother to college instead because he didn't have the same opportunities he did. And that's also an important thing. It's like he's like it goes on to George Bailey's selflessness of like I know, like I always mention this one franchise on this podcast, like a franchise that's all about family. Like George Bailey is the original.
I just rolled my eyes. I don't know if you could see that, but I just rolled my eyes.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to.
No. There's no.
I don't
need.
want to. Yeah, there's no reason. But
if you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. If you've listened to any of these podcasts, then you know. So, but yeah, I just thought that was a nice touch about George sending his brother to college when he had the opportunities. But
it just continues to show like what they were showing in the beginning, and it lays a foundation for what's going to happen later on down in the movie. It just lays down more of that foundation of that kind of person that George is.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, then Harry returns from college 4 years later, and he's married and he has a job like out of town, and George is stuck managing building and loan. But then George marries Mary.
Yeah,
which we get introduced to the character of Mary. We're introduced to her like earlier on, but Mary is played by Donna Reed.
I was about to look that up.
I want to say that I think Mary is probably one of my favorite characters in this movie.
Yeah, she's cool.
know George Bailey is like the main character, and we're supposed to like him and connect with him. But I think what's like, I'm not too familiar with Frank Capra like all that much. Like I haven't seen too many of his films, but this is a very progressive movie, like a very progressive and feminist movie, because Mary is treated like an actual female character, and a very. You're nodding your head. Yes. Do you have anything that?
No, like you're just hitting the nail on the head. Like you're
But I don't know. It's like, especially like the scene, like when George, like Mary's in her bathrobe, and she like such a unique and also interesting scene because it's like it's she kind of chose to do that, and and also like in the 1940s that's kind of unheard of. That and I'm pretty sure she was naked, like on and
pretty close.
I don't know. It's also just a funny scene too, just because she's like in the bush, just hiding from George, and it's just cute. It's just a cute moment they both have. But I think that's just also just an example of Clarence just showing George like you married a quirky woman that loves you, and isn't that what we all want? To be honest, and we all want a quirky partner. So it's like. I don't know.
It also shows like their good chemistry, like between Cary Grant, or not Cary Grant, what's his name, and her, like on set.
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, James Stewart, which I should have. James Stewart and Donna Reed on set, like it didn't feel weird. Like whenever they were doing that, it didn't feel flat. It felt like they were really like had some banter. Back and forth with each other. So it kind of just showed like it made it more believable in that, instance that they were together and that they, actually liked each other, which was kind of nice because you don't always get that in a lot of these, movie relationships. There's a lot of movies out there where people are in relationships and it just doesn't. It feels flat, and especially in movies from the 1920s, 30s, 40s. But in this case, it felt natural as hell.
Yeah, it's totally natural. And what I love most is that the house that they end up living in was the house that they used to throw rocks at, like when they were kids, or kids or teenagers or something
Teenagers,
like that.
yeah, mostly.
But I love that, like, it's like the house that they kind of like mocked or just like had fun with, or like they shared like their first kiss. Like that's the house that they raised all their children in. And
she told them it was going to happen.
More and more, it's like the more you learn about George Bailey throughout this movie, the more you learn that George Bailey is like the mayor of the town, and how he's basically making up everything. And like that, I don't know, that just almost kind of broke my heart too. It's just because it's like he meant so much to these people, like whether it was like helping them financially or just like keeping like this town alive, like by fixing up like this old house that kids used to throw rocks at and like and horseplay around. He fixed it up and stayed in the town and helped out that local economy. And like I said, like this is a post World War II movie. This is like an important message to get out to like audiences at that time, to be like you can do the most good from your local area. Like, and I say that now just thinking out loud, like this movie can mean so much to just kids watching this movie now, like in 2025. Like I know like the world seems very, very scary with especially with everything going on with like social media, and people are like, I don't know how to deal with stuff that's going on in like Palestine, like Israel, Palestine, and all this violence and all this destruction, all these school shootings that are happening. But like what's most important that's happening in your local area, as long as you are the best person that you can be in your local area and local community, that goodness will reflect out to the communities around you, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
But I think that's what this movie is trying to bring home, and I think that's a beautiful message too.
Yeah.
And I love that this movie is playing like on repeat, I think on like ABC Family throughout.
All the time.
Yeah, but
it was also alluded to. It was also alluded to in a movie that you said that you watched for the first time recently.
Recently?
Yeah.
Did I mention it in this recording?
Yeah. The most titular scene that is in this movie was also in another movie that you watched.
National Lampoon?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to rewatch that one.
Yeah. For a split second. It's not in there, but the scene of where they're like, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. That scene was in the movie as well. This movie it has so many different TV shows, movies, whatever, that references this movie so many times. It is referenced all throughout culture forever. The concept of someone wanting to in their lives, and then an angel or someone is like, hey, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good movie.
It really is. And like speaking of lines that are like iconic, and like I mentioned, this is my first watch, but like I knew that this movie existed, and I knew like some of the lines, like including like the line like you want the moon so bad, let me throw a lasso around it and pull it down. I remember because I never knew that this movie was referencing it, but now I know Bruce Almighty.
Yep. I literally thought that whenever I watched that, I was like, oh yeah.
Because to be honest, when I was watching this for the first time, I watched this twice, but when I watched it, I was waiting for the moment where where Jimmy Stewart was gonna lasso it and pull it down and tie it to the banister like Bruce Almighty does in Bruce
Yep.
Almighty, and it never happened. And I was like, okay, that's Bruce Almighty. So
Yeah.
I think so many awesome references that movies that so many awesome references that movies that came after this are referencing this movie. It's incredible that the influence that this movie has.
Well, that's why I think it's so cool for people to go back and actually watch older movies from the 40s, 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s, because you're gonna realize that you'll see other references and other through lines in movies even that are coming out this year. You're like, shit, like that was from that. That's cool. And that's something that you could just see and figure out just by watching older movies.
Yeah, that's why we talked about like Netflix and Warner Brothers and how Netflix could potentially like get rid of older movies. That's why we're totally against like Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers. But listen, the listeners already heard that topic. But yeah, I'm just I'm going through my notes of like everything that I have, because there's so much to talk about like with this movie, like especially with all the flashbacks.
I think the very opening, by the way, of like the galaxies and shit, I think that was so cool. I was like, this is so, why don't we do this more? Like, this is awesome.
It kind of reminds me of Pinocchio a little bit. Like that's what it reminded me of like the North Star talking and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like we talked a lot about like the flashbacks, but then like after we kind of like get to know George Bailey, and I'm kind of like, when I'm watching this for the first time, I'm used to like this kind of feels like a Christmas Carol, because it's like it's like Scrooge kind of like looking at his life and like what his life actually was. But then like once we get to the bridge scene where he jumps and Clarence meets up with him, like comes down from the universe and saves him. George Bailey actually saves someone else, right? He saves Clarence.
Well, I think
an embodiment of Clarence.
If I remember correctly, it was him thinking that he's saving someone. But then Clarence reiterates, "No, man, you tried to kill yourself."
Right. And I tried
to like, wait, what?
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what? He's like, no, you tried to kill yourself. And then that's when he goes into that rant of like, well, sometimes I feel like, people would be better off if I weren't around. And then that's when he's like, oh no, buddy, you don't realize this is what happens if you're not around. Yeah.
And then we get into these alternate reality part of the movie where, like you said, this is what happens like when George isn't around. And I feel like it's pretty simple, like since we of like everything that we talked about, like Mr. Gower, like he would go to jail for poisoning a child because of the medicine that he gave out because George didn't stop him. That Mary is unmarried and she's a shy librarian, and just seeing like how like heartbroken she is that she doesn't have this person like George like in her life. It's incredibly sad, and just like, I don't know. It's heartbreaking for me. This part of the movie really, it gives me like a lot of like Back to the Future vibes. And I think that's why I love this movie so much now, is because it's like Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my 4 favorites and will forever be in that. But what'd you think of like this alternate reality?
I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. I not only that, it made me realize the other movies that have done it before. I was like, oh yeah, this is the blueprint. Because there have been other movies, other stories, other whatever that have done the same thing. Because they're harkening back to It's a Wonderful Life, and then it made me appreciate It's a Wonderful Life even more so because of that. Where I was like, right, okay, like this is dope. This is where they got it from. All these things that I've seen leading up to this point in my life, this is where they got it from. And this is cool. Like now that I understand movies and understand things a little bit better than I did a couple years ago whenever I first watched it, I appreciate it more. Yeah. So I was just like, oh, that's awesome. I like that.
And especially that, like I mentioned like before, how this film was able to influence so many movies that came after it. The way it was made too, like at this time, it's like we don't know where the film industry was going to go. And I feel like that's even more inspirational for our current story, right now with like the film industry. Like we don't know how films are going to get made or how we're going to be watching movies. And It's a Wonderful Life is like a perfect kind of like test on or like example of like no matter like how many things change like in the current in the industry that we love so dearly, you can still make wonderful art like this. Like even like I know there's a lot of doom and gloom out there with like the whole. I'm really glad that we're able to talk about the whole Netflix because there's so much to tie to this with this movie.
Yeah.
But it's no matter how much change that can happen, there is always going to be people out there that tell meaningful stories that inspire so many filmmakers and will shape an industry for the next 100 years. And I feel like I feel like you can name multiple movies. You can name multiple movies that came out within like the last couple of years that do that example. Like it's like Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that's that's one movie that like inspires so many young filmmakers. And like when you see or One Battle After Another, I know that like you love that movie.
Yep.
Probably not my favorite of the year. It's probably going to
Yeah.
make my top 10, but I have to see it a couple more times. But it like that's the power of cinema. That's the power of cinema. But yeah, going back to like the alternate reality, there's not like kind of like everything that we talked about, like George's life. It's kind of like really just the opposite. Like it's just Clarence just saying like, hey, it's exactly what we were saying. Like if George wasn't like George wasn't around, like all these people all these people in the town wouldn't be where it's at today. It's just because of you. And it's inspirational. It's inspirational. And that's when we get to like really the end of this film where George actually sees like how influential he is to everyone that is around him, and he's just loving life. It's like him running through the streets and like hugging everyone, and it's a little cheesy, but I just love that he's a changed man just because, and he didn't necessarily have to change himself.
No.
He just had to see like the good that he provides. But yeah, I think what I love most about this movie is that it's so simple. It's so simple, but the themes that it touches on and all the stuff that it's focusing on are so strong and they hit so deep. And like I said, power of cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that whenever it hits, its 100th anniversary, there's still going to be themes in this movie that people can resonate to today or to that point. But whenever we hit 2047, it's gonna, people are gonna be able to watch this movie and go, okay, I kind of feel like that sometimes too. I get that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's what good writing does. I mean, there's, you don't get a lot of movies like that where, it stands up for 100 years, but this is going to be one of those movies that easily does.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything that I missed? Well, the ending, like basically the town rallies around George, to get Mary and Uncle Billy and them to get like the loan that they need to support like all these people. And I love that the loan that they have to get to keep like his business afloat, it's not necessarily like a loan to help George out. It's a loan to just get him above water.
Help everybody out. Yeah.
Yeah. It just goes back again it goes back again that like money doesn't solve all your problems, because we see Mr. Potter, he's completely miserable. He's completely miserable. He in fact tries to get George to work for him, like I mentioned. And I think the touching thing about all of this is that like the toast that they have like towards the end of the movie is they call George the richest man in town, even though Mr. Potter is clearly the richest because financially he's the richest. But it's about community. It's about friends. It's about family. Not trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about the people that you inspire and you influence. But yeah. Did I miss anything, or do you have anything you want to add, or?
Not that I can think of. It's just kind of nice that at the end of the movie, like the whole like this feeling of karma and everything and good karma, and just kind of comes back to really to help him out. It's nice.
Yeah,
Very wholesome
it's
feeling.
very wholesome, very uplifting feeling. I wish we had more movies like this because
Either
well, we do have movies like this, but yeah. Oh, well, there is one scene that I forgot to mention that it just came to my mind, and it's kind of living in the back of my mind, and it's the scene where I don't think it's an alternate reality. It's like towards the beginning of the movie. It's like when George Bailey he's at home with his kids, and his daughter is playing like that Christmas song on the piano.
No, that's
really
like right
bad.
before he gets into the
Kill
craziness.
himself.
Yeah. Because he was
Yeah.
like angry as fuck. And he was like, fucking stop.
Yeah, I love that scene so much because like she like the way she was playing that song, she's playing it badly. And George tells her to stop. Like stop playing the song, but she still continues.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like it's such an important message, especially now more than ever, when I hear kids like saying that they don't want to create content because it's going to be cringe or people might not like it. George Bailey's daughter didn't. She continued to play.
She's like,
continued
man,
to
I'm gonna keep going.
practice. Yeah, and because she got joy out of that. And I remember doing that as a kid where I'm banging on the piano and like annoying like my mom and dad, but my mom and dad never told me to stop. Well, maybe every now and then because I was being annoying with it, but I don't know. I thought that scene was pretty touching as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's kind of a nice little thing to show that, even his daughters were like, I know daddy's upset right now, but I'm sure it'll go away. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm going to do.
Right.
Because from what I understand, that's not something that, they saw a lot of. So they're like, oh, this is probably, just a weird thing that he's going through. So she was like, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah. And kids will be kids as most movies will show, like after this and before this, like kids will be kids. And I just love the way children are represented like on screens and in movies because they're just themselves. But yeah, It's a Wonderful Life, the best Christmas movie. Well, Christmas Carol is still up there. Christmas Carol is still up there. I think it's still number one for me. But yeah, go watch this movie. Do what you do. Like if you haven't seen this movie, like I have,
go watch in black and white at least. Don't watch the color version. Just watch the black and white version.
Okay. No. Okay. When I found that out, I think I was listening to the Unspooled podcast, and that's where I found out there was a color version. I looked it up, and I wanted to like do my research on that and see like what it actually looks like. It looks bizarre.
Yeah.
But some of the choices look kind of interesting as well.
Yeah.
Because like it shows like how like things were framed differently like back then. And also just like what people wore as well, and kind of like how people can really wear like really any colors because it was in black and white and they could get away with that. But I don't know. It's definitely interesting. It's not the way I would watch this movie like every year, but I do recommend people check it out just because it's an interesting practice, and I'm kind of glad that they did it.
Yeah,
they tried it, but just give me the black and white.
Yeah. Just go black and white. You don't need the color version.
Yeah. Have you seen the colored version?
I saw little snippets of it because I had the option, like as I watched it on Prime, and I had the option of either doing the black and white or the color. I watched the black and white version first, and I watched the color version. I watched like maybe 5 minutes of it, and I was like, yeah, no, can't do this.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, just keep it to the black and white. That's all I need.
Yeah, more people need to watch black and white films regardless, is because there's it's such an interesting way to like tell a story and see movies through that lens as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, It's a Wonderful Life, unless you have anything else to mention on this movie and why you love it so much.
I do love it. I mean, the music is great.
Yeah.
The movie itself is great. I
Mhm.
I have a good time watching it. I feel good. You know, it made me feel a little bit differently this time of year or this time
Yeah.
around, and I just still love it. I think I'm gonna now that I've watched it recently this year, and I took something a little bit differently away from it. I think it may go in my yearly rotation. I'd heard that some of my family members have not seen it, which I find crazy because they're older than me, and they've been around for pretty much the majority of its duration. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to force them to sit down and watch it with me, even though it's like 2 hours and some change,
Mhm.
and see what they think. But yeah, like I think it's one of those movies that everyone should watch every year. Like it doesn't have to be like a tradition or anything, but definitely throw it on, put it in the rotation for your Christmas movies.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely throw it in your rotation. I'm just gonna pull up. Sorry. I tried this for the first time, but yeah, definitely put it in your rotation if it's not in your rotation. And if you haven't seen this movie, definitely see this movie. But I don't normally do this here on the Real Livers podcast, but I reached out to some of our friends on social media to see what they thought of this movie. I only got
Okay.
a few responses, but Seth from the Movie Friends podcast, friend of the podcast, obviously, he said that this is part of a trilogy of films that defined American film for decades. Citizen Kane and The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Which I think Seth is 100% right on
Yeah.
that one. Like Seth mostly is
Yeah.
on film Twitter as well. But I think that's a interesting thing to bring up, that because Wizard of Oz is like really the first movie in color.
Yeah, one of the first. Yeah.
But yeah, one of the first, and It's a Wonderful Life was kind of like you mentioned, like it's one of the first movies to tell a story in this non-linear like format, and it influenced so many movies that come after it.
Yeah.
And same with Citizen Kane as well. But yeah, do you have anything to say to Seth about that?
No, like he's completely right.
Mhm.
Completely right.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I'm curious.
Yeah, let me just pull it up. Yeah, this one comes from John 8 Jalil. He
Okay.
says that they say that they don't care for it because I absolutely cannot abide Jimmy Stewart before he spoils anything that he's in. So they just don't like Jimmy Stewart, which,
Spoils anything he's in simply by just being in it.
yeah, I think he's just being a
What's
hater. I think he's
what's
just
the
being a hater.
aversion to Jimmy? What's your aversion to Jimmy Stewart, man? What are
I
we
don't
doing?
know.
Do we not
I
like good
asked him,
movies?
to be honest, I asked
Do
him,
we
I
not
was
like
like,
good performances? Is that what the
exactly.
problem is?
I think he's just being a hater. It's social media.
He's probably just being weird.
Yeah, I think so. It's social media. It's threads. You get the threads. You get so many weird reactions, anyways. So,
Stay away from that.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, thanks for all the interactions, the good and the bad, obviously. But
yeah,
let's get into our final segment, Drake, called Double Build,
yeah.
where I asked you to pick two movies that pair really nicely with It's a Wonderful Life, which I think would probably be the easiest thing to do because this film has influenced so many things to come after it. But I'm interested to see what you picked for this double bill.
So I had one completely locked right away, and then
Mhm.
we were having this conversation, and then I'm like, you know what? That'd be a better one for the second one. So for the first one, just another like feel good Christmas movie, Miracle on 34th Street. It's a very good movie, one of my favorite Christmas movies. I need to watch it again. I haven't watched it in a very long time, but I watched it in school. I loved it. It's a fantastic
I've
movie.
never seen it. Sorry.
Okay. We have a lot of work to do. All right. So love that movie.
Yeah.
We have 9 days to run it on one of the podcasts, so let's see if we can figure it out.
Yeah, it's
Right.
okay. I surprised some other people on It's a Wonderful Podcast when I say I haven't seen. So they asked, like, one of the questions they ask on their podcast is like, "What's your favorite Richard Attenborough film?"
Yeah.
And someone said Miracle on 34th Street, and I was just like, "I've never seen it." And they're like, "How have you not seen it? That movie plays everywhere on TV."
It's literally everywhere.
And when people ask me that, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. And I'm
Fair.
pretty sure I have seen it. I'm just like you said, it's been a while, but
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but
No, yeah. No, yeah, I would definitely put Miracle on 34th Street. And then
Mhm.
we were talking about Citizen Kane just now. Honestly, it'd be a great one to throw in there. For those of you who haven't seen it, it is very much the Frank Potter side of things, I would say. From like the start of before someone was corrupted, very much like George Bailey-esque, all the way up until you get to the George Potter side, or Potter side of things. I can't remember if his name is George, it's probably not, but Mr. Potter side of things. You see both in that movie. You see the more kinder side in the front half before he's corrupted, and then, you know, the more financier, only care about money and see how it affects me in the most grandiose way at the end of the movie. So I think that would actually be a decent pairing to put with this movie.
Yeah, those are great picks. I love Citizen Kane. I know that a lot of people, I hear some film bros that kind of like, they don't necessarily like it that much because it's like you watch it in film school, so it's kind of like it's
That's why you gotta watch it on your own volition. Like,
exactly. So yeah, just cue it up on HBO Max. I think you mentioned HBO Max or whatever, or just throw in the DVD. But yeah, those are great picks. The Citizen Kane and Miracle on 34th Street. My two movies is a recent movie, and also it's an older movie, but I already mentioned it. It's a Muppet Christmas Carol. Just because It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas movie, and you gotta throw a Muppet Christmas Carol in there if you watch any Christmas movie. That I really mean it when I say it. It is the best version of a Christmas Carol, a Charles Dickens Christmas Carol. It's because Michael Caine is so good at that, where he's just like, it shows that Michael Caine is like the best actor of all time. How he's just acting around these Muppets, and he's just treating them like actual people.
He plays it so straight, and that's the best part. I love it.
It's so good. In fact, I think when we're done recording, I'm going to put it on.
I don't blame
after this. But yeah, so there's that. That's a classic. But yeah, it's a more recent film. It's directed by Mike Flanagan. It's The Life of Chuck.
Oh, dude, yeah.
This is like, I was thinking Christmas Carol when watching It's a Wonderful Life, but I was also thinking The Life of Chuck like so much, and I would be shocked that Mike Flanagan wasn't inspired by It's a Wonderful Life when he made when he adapted the Stephen King Life of Chuck into a film. Great film.
Yeah, I didn't even make that connection.
I don't think a lot of people talk about this movie anymore. Have you seen it? Or
yeah, I saw it. I was lucky enough to go, and I went to a Monday mystery movie, and I didn't know what I was going to get into. I didn't know what it was going to be. I was looking forward to hopefully seeing Life of Chuck at some point, and sure enough, it was Life of Chuck, and I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Right. It's so good. And you're going to be shocked by this. You're going to be very surprised. That's my first Mike Flanagan film I've ever seen.
Really? Yeah. Interesting.
I have Dr. Sleep sitting on my shelf. Like, I bought that, and I'm going to watch it eventually. But
yeah, my brother was a
Mike Flanagan really impressed me with Life of Chuck. I think the ending isn't necessarily the best. I think it's a little messy and kind of doesn't really make much sense, but it's still a solid film to pair with It's a Wonderful Life. Drake, this has been a lovely conversation. I love ever since we've did the 7 podcast on your podcast. I think you're a great individual to just talk and nerd out about movies.
Likewise.
Yeah. But if people want to do the same thing that I just did, where can people find you online or listen to you and hear your wonderful conversations on movies?
Yeah. Right now, if you just go to, the easiest way to find me, I think, would just be go to my Twitter, because I've got a link tree on there, and it's got everything on there. I think even my Letterboxd is tied to my link tree. But everything is on there. The First Watch podcast is on pretty much all major platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know where we're going to branch off from there. I know I'm going to have you on again. I think we've already had that conversation. And yeah, we're definitely going to do more. There hasn't been much going on this month because it's just been Christmas time, so it's kind of hard to get things to work out. But yeah, definitely follow Drake on Twitter. All the links will be in the description. Give the First Watch podcast a listen. Listen to the first episode, the 7th episode. There's a lot of fun.
I remember when I sent you that message and I haven't seen 7. You were just like, what? So it was,
that one kind of hurt me a little bit.
Yeah, But you're glad that I watched it for the first time, and I was
glad.
yeah,
I was very glad.
but yeah. But I always say at the end of every podcast that I do, if people aren't annoyed with me by the end of every podcast, you can follow me everywhere on social media with the username Marley Loves Movies. Most active places for me are Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram, TikTok, wherever I post rarely there, but sometimes I post my takes there. Subscribe to me on YouTube at the with the YouTube channel Marley Loves Movies as well. And then you can also listen to this podcast anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And if you like this episode or you like any previous episodes of the Real Lovers podcast, give us a rate and review. Let us know how we're doing. And if we're doing really well, I know I mentioned supporting independent media is important. So you should support Drake as well, producer of the First Watch podcast. But also, you can support the Real Lovers podcast by going to the Real Lovers podcast Patreon page and donating for only $1, and you get access to exclusive episodes of the Real Lovers podcast, like Small Screen Lovers, where we're currently covering Heated Rivalry on HBO Max. And then I'm also doing a bonus show or exclusive show on the Patreon where I'm talking to my friend from the Netherlands. We used to be best friends in high school, and we basically just made a show where we called it Good Afternoon, Good Morning. Yeah. And because like when it's afternoon here, he's going to sleep. So it's like he's getting ready to go to sleep. So Good Afternoon, Good Morning. You can listen to that on the Real Lovers podcast Patreon page. But yeah, Drake, this has been fun. You're going to be on again for sure. We have already discussed that. I don't want to spoil it for the listeners. But
I was about to say it, and I was like, I'm just going to wait.
It's another Christmas movie, but I think based on the movies that we talked about, I think the listeners will be able to guess what movie we're talking about. I think so. But yeah, with that being said, Drake, my name is Marley Silverbrand for the Real Lovers podcast, and
Drake from First Watch podcast.
And let's get back to the movies. See ya.
See ya.